This is a guy, Aaron Hodek. I think he's Slovakian. Is that right? The YouTube, I think, is kind of where he got his start. Real young bass player. Like I think he's like 8, 9 years old. He is really good bass player. This is one of the guys. This is one of the reasons I would believe in past lives because it doesn't make any sense like why he would be this kind of a player when, like this good at that young of an age. But
Hello
anyway,
guys,
so
this
here
is
he is.
Jam Session with
Can you see this?
Aaron. So
Oh
we
yeah,
have a
yeah.
special guest. He's a songwriter, singer, and all that. So his name is Samm Henshaw, and our band is PocketCrew. So let's get into it.
Samm Henshaw, British guy. That's good.
Whoop. Yeah, yeah. All these questions on my mind, like I'm never satisfied. But I get all I need, more than I need to get by. It's getting heavy on my brain. Too busy trying to make a name. It's like when I get some, the more I want to love it. I say, why I always got to be perfect? Sometimes I go and try to make everything so perfect, but it's not, and it's cool, cause it's real, but it's true. One time, how high is high enough? How far is far enough? How much is too much? I sing, when is enough enough? How rich is rich enough? How strong is strong enough? I'm scared of losing touch. Oh, so when is enough enough? Why did I get so distracted? It's like my words don't match my actions. I lose my clarity, but I'll get back.
This guy sounds like Samm Henshaw. Like he goes into that John Legend thing every once in a while, but then like he goes into like an Anderson .Paak thing as well. I mean, that's just kind of what I'm hearing. Like, obviously he's probably not trying to do that, but I was attracted to those qualities, but also obviously what he does. I don't know. Did you guys hear that at all? Like that John Legend voice?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
Similar.
the young fellow on bass,
Oh my
funny
gosh.
story. I
Whew.
met he and his dad at the NAMM show,
Oh wow.
and he's really remarkable. You see how tiny that bass is,
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's a small bass that was custom made for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really cool. But I asked his dad, I said, so are you a bass player? And he said, no, I play drums, and there's another instrument that he said he played.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, my son just loves the instrument. He's like, I didn't make him play. I
Wow.
didn't force him. He just wanted to play. And he just absolutely loves it. Every style of music you can think of, you know.
Wow.
So I think that's one of the, when it comes to music and education, I'm like, what is it that people really like? What do they really enjoy? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what motivates people to practice and to
Yeah.
get better. And it's almost like it's not a chore if
Mm-hmm.
it's something that you really, really like.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a huge challenge because I have a couple students that are young and I want to make it fun, but you got to teach them something. Like obviously, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of technique, especially like I play violin and teach that, so it's like you got to
Okay.
teach
Yep.
a bunch of technique because
Yeah.
otherwise you're not getting any sound out of that thing. So how do you balance that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the long run, the people that get over the hump and start and play most of their lives, they cannot not do it. I always say that they just can't not do it. They have to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
almost in really any form of anything you do in life. So the students I've had over the years, the ones that have stuck through, it's just their passion. A lot of them drop off. They'll play a little bit and then they'll drop out and get into some other kind of work. But that guy at that age to have that ear, I don't know where
Yeah.
that came, the technique.
Yeah.
He's got technique as a bass player. Dwight, is that? I mean, is he doing the right things? I mean, geez.
He's doing what he feels, and
Yeah.
he listens to everybody. His dad said he studies everything. I mean, you have to understand too that the age that we're living in now is
Yeah.
we have access to pretty
Mm.
much everything.
Right.
Just think about. I mean, I'm 52 years old,
Right.
but if I had YouTube when I was growing up,
I know.
oh my goodness, or the internet to be able to actually see what people were doing and learn from that angle and play from that angle and have all that information, that's quite an advantage, I think,
Right.
to a degree, you know. So yeah, to be able
Yeah.
to do that, yeah, he definitely is doing some wonderful things. But I more than his technique or anything like that, I can see that he's passionate about
Right.
it.
And that's what makes you kind of just feel it. It doesn't really matter what he's saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Something music is something that, I mean, you can't fake people out at all. I mean, either it's working or it's
Right.
not.
Yeah, that's true.
I was
So-
going to ask you, Dwight, at what point in music history, like I remember in the 60s, bass playing wasn't as melodic, you know,
No.
and when did it evolve more to like what he's playing?
That kind of stuff. And his sound, he sounds more like he comes from the school of Pino Palladino, you know, playing that kind of stuff from from bass player plays with John Mayer and all those guys.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of interesting that when I started playing bass, and I started when I was about 14 years old. I remember when I started playing, I never really took solos.
Yeah, right.
No one
did.
No one really took solos. I mean, if it was a funk thing, of course, you might have a little segue into another part of the song.
Right.
But you know, the Stanley Clarks, the Jackos, the Victor Baileys, the Alfonso Johnsons, those kind of players, I think, kind of took things to a whole nother level when it came to being melodic. I think Jocko and Stanley and those guys get a lot of credit for that, but I'm sure it started seeping in earlier, even
Maybe.
from Willie Weeks with Donny Hathaway, and then you know, just different players that kind of branched out. In jazz, of course, has always been a thing,
Right.
from you know, from Paul Chambers to Ron Carter, those types of players who played with Miles Davis. Even before that, there's a great bassist, Slam Stewart, who used to play with the bow and sing along with his solos. I mean, that was something that kind of, you know, evolved in the jazz world. You know,
I really don't hear Pino as a soloist kind of guy. He's just pocket, but definitely there's melodic stuff happening too.
He's a pocket player, but Pino is just a different expression. You know, he has a way of how he plays off of notes and slides to, you know,
Right.
passing tones and things like that. But a lot of those players, this kid's sound to me is like a Pino Palladino, almost like he embodies that feel, even the way he moves, his vibe of the song. So yeah.
I mean, they're definitely doing that D'Angelo thing. I mean, what
exactly
that record, that Voodoo record.
Could you explain to me? The boys always talk about pocket players and all that. So maybe people out there, what does that mean? Playing in the pocket.
Playing in the pocket. Really, when I think of pocket, I think of rhythm section, mainly playing together to where the music really feels good and it sounds like it's just really well put together. Being able to complement the groove and be consistent. It's almost like laying a foundation. If you pour a foundation, then you can kind of build from there. But if the foundation is off, then the rest of the structure is off. And that's the way I look at it musically. It's like if you have a pocket rhythm section that actually kind of lays the foundation of what needs to happen, then things can be built upon that. I mean, we like the Kenny Garrett tune earlier. the rhythm of what Brian Blade played and what Sharnette Mafia played, they were consistent all the way through that song. So anything that Kenny Garrett, the piano player, and the other players added to that or created the melodies and the harmony and all that stuff, it could actually work pretty good. So yeah, that's what Pocket is to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is that what it is to you, Chris? Is that what you think of?
well, I was gonna say I wanted to pop back into the song real quick because
Oh, okay.
I listen to like millions of podcasts about music, and it just helps me put things into perspective, what I'm hearing and listening. And from what I know, just being a fan of like D'Angelo and what he does and did and keeps doing, but he famously doesn't put out a lot of records. But the Voodoo record was kind of this like, you know, timestamp for people, at least in my generation, where everything kind of changed after that, as far as like R&B, soul, and really just I think music in general. But this guy named J Dill was this hip hop producer. He made beats, right, on like an MPC machine, and his famous thing was that he didn't quantize, so he didn't put everything to the grid. So he would play it kind of like a musician would play it. It was all about the feel. So he kind of created this thing where it was in between swung and straight, and he's kind of mixing those languages together. And so then when D'Angelo heard that, he kind of wanted to emulate that with live drums. And famously, Questlove, you know, he has interviews about it. He's like, talks about how he kind of had to relearn how to play drums. So you'll hear it, Dad, in this. I'm talking to my dad mainly. I don't know if I kind of assume Dwight knows what I'm talking about, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So this kind of feel that he's doing in drums, you'd call it, you know, a flam, right? It's not quite on. So listen to how he's playing it.
It's like my words don't match my actions. I lose my clarity, but I'll get back to me in no time. Free dots and no reply. Feeling like it's social suicide.
So all those little symbols and stuff are, this thing right here, one of these symbols on top is a clap sack, so it's like a bunch of flat cymbals that just sound like a clap. He's playing that before he's playing the snare, so it's going tska, tska. It's kind of interesting.
It's getting heavy on my brain. Too busy trying to make a name. It's like,
can you hear that? It's right before the snare. Kind of creates that flam effect. And then where's the bass? Where would the bass be playing? I mean, that's kind of just an expressive thing, right? Like, where would you be playing that pocket? Would you be playing right on the one, or are you playing with the flam? That's where I'm always like, where do you go with that?
Well, it sounds like he's on this song. He's playing back and forth, like one and three.
I see.
Yeah, back and forth.
Cool. It just creates like such an interesting vibe. And I think it was J Dilla that said, I'm playing the way my neck moves. It's a bodily thing that he was trying to recreate with that flam technique. I thought that was really cool.
I hear musicians trying to emulate this.
Oh yeah, all the time.
And the interesting thing is that as long as they realize that you still have to know where one is.
Right.
You know, because if you don't know where one is,
right,
you're kind of all over the place. And to play off of a groove is to know where the groove is in the first place.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Everybody wants to do it, and it's like there's a lot of variations, but
yeah, exactly.
And not always good.
Yeah.
It's fun to try to dip your hands into it, like when I'm making like beats and stuff, but it's another thing to go out and play it live. What have you guys been listening to recently, just in general?
Like I said, I listen to Count Basie.
Every day, huh?
Well, not every day. I wish.
Yeah, right.
But I am a big Basie. Something about that big band that just swings hard to me.